Hi, this is Florian from AromaGnosis. And after talking about it with clients for years, I realized it'd be good to share with you about the notions of empath, super empath, and hyper empath and how to deal with it. So we all know what an empath is. It's, people who describe as really feeling what others are feeling. And I think we're all empaths to a greater or lesser extent. It's really just a matter of how we were uh, I guess, acculturated to it, whether we were taught to not feel anything, suppress our feelings, stiff upper lip, or whether uh, money or gifts or other things were substitutes for emotions. But I think that connectedness is essential to our nature. And then there's super empaths and hyper empaths. And I really want to focus on the hyper empath because people who are hyper empaths are so open to others' emotions that they don't even know where it's coming from, and and I think that hyper empaths often experience this almost really as a form of psychosis of, you know, having no idea where these feelings and thoughts, ideas, even voices come from, because I think usually from a very young age they're just so porous, so open that they can't tell what's theirs and what's not theirs. They can't correlate what they're feeling to their experiences, and so that's often, I think, where that dissonance comes from. That makes people think, "Oh, I'm going crazy," or "I'm having psychosis." And so I think just knowing that, number one, is really important to say, "Hey, maybe I'm a hyper empath, and a lot of what I'm feeling isn't even mine." And one thing I've been thinking about a lot is what's the relationship between a parentified child, a child that was, again, trained unconsciously to be emotionally responsible for the parent's emotional needs. And we say that often people who were parentified children grow up to be codependent and have codependency patterns. But I think even on a related level, there's also this porousness, this sort of being so trained unconsciously to be open to others that we can't tell that that's wrong, or that those emotions aren't ours. Some time ago I heard the definition of someone who's codependent is that when they die, someone else's life flashes in front of their eyes. And I think we all know that that's true, and it's kind of bittersweet. But again, there's that porousness. What's mine? What's not mine? I can't even tell. So I think, first of all, recognizing that we're really only responsible for our own feelings. Yes, we have to transform the traumas that are handed down to us, but the first step of that is realizing, well, this isn't even mine. This was handed to me, or this was given to me in my cradle, because that's really the first step. So just having a word for it, having this word, "Oh, am I hyper empath?" is the first step to, is this thought mine, is this thought not, or this feeling not mine? The other, I think, foundational, we've been doing this with a lot of clients, two foundational exercises. One is cutting the ties that bind, and we often have to do this with close family members, mother, father, people that have really sort of, again, often unconsciously programmed us from a very young age. And it doesn't mean you don't want to have any relationship with that person, but that you need to clear out all the unconscious entanglements so that you can have a conscious relationship and not be in that automatic rut that's often so deep that we can't imagine any other way of being. And this cutting the ties that bind exercise, sometimes we have to do it with a person who's no longer in physical form, who has passed on, because there's still, the program is still in our head. It's really part of the default mode network. We could say that codependency is encoded in the default mode network. I think that's fairly obvious, because I think attachment styles are probably also encoded in the default mode network. And I think even this leakiness, this hyper-empathness, if you think about, it's really like the alchemical vessel of our self, of our heart, of our emotional, mental, and spiritual bodies is really leaky, which means that it's hard for us to feel our own emotions because they're constantly leaking out and we can't contain them. And second, there's just this weird attraction, like when other people can tell we're a hyper-empath, they sort of unconsciously dump their crap on us. Why that is, I don't know. It just seems to happen, um, without us even knowing. So the other thing besides the cutting the ties that bind exercise, of course, is as I was saying, healing the leaky vessel with Yarrow essential oil. There's an earlier video about how to use the Yarrow, and I think this is a foundational exercise to really strengthen the vessel, so that with every feeling, every empathic thought, every experience, even if it feels like a delusion, the first question is this mine or is it not mine? And as I said, we only really have to deal with what's ours, and clearing that out, making that clear delineation that, again, the Yarrow really helps us with, cutting the ties that are often like layer upon layer of entanglements and tentacles. That's really foundational for healing our vessel. And it doesn't mean we're not empathetic, but we have a choice about what's in our alchemical vessel, what needs to be transformed. We can't cook if the frying pan is full of holes, and we can't process if our vessel is full of holes. So those are really foundational, and I think this practice of healing our boundaries and asking ourselves what's ours and what isn't ours, I tell this to my clients, and it's like, we never forget to put our clothes on in the morning. Most of us don't forget to brush our teeth. This self-care, this practicing healthy boundaries is as important and needs to come as much at the beginning of the day and the end of the day as putting our clothes on. It's, when they say in the airplane during the safety drill, in case of an emergency, if oxygen deploys, attach your own oxygen mask before assisting others. That's a profound spiritual truth. The question is, what is your oxygen mask? Fundamentally, it is your vessel strong? Is your vessel strong enough so that you can transform everything in the alchemical fire of yourself, everything in the alchemical fire of your heart awareness? Because that's the only way we can heal and transform. And by each of us healing ourselves, that's how we're going to heal the world. And that's what's really being asked of us right now. So I hope that you found this distinction of empath and hyper-empath useful. Maybe ask any questions in the comments below. Look up the earlier video about Yarrow. If you have questions about the cutting the ties that bind exercise, again, make a comment. And happy winter solstice. And set some good intentions for the future. It's a beautiful, beautiful time. Blessings.